off. In lesson 1, we made this sort of simple spreadsheet, and we're just going to expand it out. I have listed some of the assumptions here. Let's fill that out. I want to be able to show my month 1, 2, 3, so I'm going to copy and paste that. Remember, we click in the first cell, just drag over, Command C for copy, and then Command V for paste. And so now let's look. So our inpatient procedures, let's say there are 10 in month 1, there's 15 in month 2, and there's 20 in month 3. Let's do our reimbursement as 10 for each. All I'm doing is typing the number. I hit tab and it takes me to the next column over, and then I type in the number and I hit tab. For the number of outpatient procedures, let's do just 10, 10, 10. And then for the reimbursement, I should actually do 15. And let's do $2, $2, and $2. And so for our staffing, let's say that our staffing is $50, 100, whoops. So, and again, another way to navigate the cells is just to use your arrow keys. We'll do 100 and 200. Supplies, let's say our supplies are 20 across the board. So I'm just hitting 20, tab 20. You also could have put 20 once and dragged across. And then miscellaneous we'll do 5. And I'll just drag it across to show. All right, so those are our assumptions. Now we're going to actually build this using these assumptions. So let's start. Let's put our month 1, 2, and 3. So highlight that, copy, paste with Control C, Control V. And let's do our inpatient revenue. And we know that our inpatient revenue is made up by our number of procedures times our reimbursement, right? So it's a calculation. We start with an equal sign. And we're just going to highlight the cell of the number of inpatient procedures. To do multiplication, we actually use this asterisk. And we'll do, which is Shift 8. And so multiply by the reimbursement, and that gives us 100. And let's do that again. Equals, click in your first cell, asterisk, second cell. And then because we are, we want to use the exact same formula that we used in this column on this column, I can just drag and it'll work, right? Let's do our outpatient revenue. It's the exact same thing. We're going to do equal sign our number of outpatient procedures, asterisk, times our reimbursement, enter, and then let's just fill that across. Great. So now we know our total revenue. And remember, we want to justify this right. We're going to bold it. We're going to put a single border. And then we're going to add these two together. And remember, we can do it either as equals, sum, open parens, highlight the 2, in parens, enter. We could do equals, one number plus sign, next number, enter. Or once we have it, we can just drag it across. So 3 ways to get there. So our expenses, this is going to be our categories. Oh, see how that picked up the formatting from over here? I don't want it to look like that. So I'm going to highlight that, and we say, well, what's in there that we don't want? Well, first it's bolded. I don't want bold. I also want it to be left adjusted, but it still has that gray border. I don't want that. So I'm going to come to this little bucket and hit this down arrow and no fill. All right. So our expenses that we're going to look at, sorry for my dog, salary, staffing, supplies, right? I also don't like that this is aligned exactly with the expenses. It makes it hard for my eye to see. So I'm going to highlight these three. Going back to my justification section of the formatting, there's this one that has the arrow, and it just gives me a little indent. And that just helps create a separation. So for our salary for month 1, we already know it's here, but how do I get this number here? I could just type it, right? But then the problem is if I go in here later and change this, nothing happens here. And so it'll bust my whole spreadsheet. So what we want to do instead is we want to be able to link what's happening here to what's in my assumptions. And that way, all you have to do is change your assumptions and all this will change automatically. So we don't hard code or type in the number. Instead, we do an equal sign, and then we go up here and just click on that, 50. And same for staffing, equals, let's go up here. Oh, well, let me fix this. So this should be staffing, my labels are wrong, supplies, miscellaneous. All right, so for supplies, equal sign, click on that. Miscellaneous equals, click on month 1 miscellaneous, and it's there. Now, you can click on this first number, drag down to highlight all 3, and see our little bolded box. Grab it and just pull it over, and it automatically will calculate for you. So it's an easy way to fill in your whole spreadsheet. You can only do this when the formula that you've got here is using data in that same column, that when you go to the next column, the formula and the data are in the same column. If you ever want to do a formula here still relying on data in this column, you need to be able to anchor that. And I'll show you that later. But this works really well when your data and formulas are in successive columns. So let's fix the formatting here. See how wonky this is? Well, actually, we'll do that in a minute. All right, so let's figure out what our total expenses are. So let's put a border, and now we need to add these 3 together. So same thing. Here, I think while you could do equal sign, first number, plus sign, second number, plus sign, third number, enter, that gets kind of monotonous. It's a little bit faster to go equal sign, sum, open parens, highlight your 3 numbers, close parens, and that captures all 3 of those numbers. And then you can just pull this across. The other good thing about doing that is if I decide to enter, say I'm going to insert a row, and all I did again was highlight that, double click, hit insert, and I'm going to shift my rows down, and say I need to put in here meals. I'm sorry for my dog. And I add $10, $10, $10. Notice that this number increased, see? So here it was 125. As soon as I put in this 10, that automatically goes to 135. And that's because my sum includes all of these highlighted cells, and when I put in another row in there, it was inside the highlighted rows or in highlighted cells, so it's automatically included. Whereas here, I did, I picked this number and I picked that number and I picked that number. So my added 10 does not show up. It's another reason it is worth doing the sum function. All right, let's get rid of this. And to get rid of it, I'm just going to highlight it. I'm going to double click, and then I'm going to hit delete. And I'm going to shift my cells back up. All right, so here's our expenses. Let's put total expenses, and notice how this is aligned with the staffing, supplies, and miscellaneous and not the expenses. We actually want to pull that back. So we're going to do the de-indent, and now we'll do the right justification. We'll bold it, and that's going to look like that. And then for our net income, let's do net income here. And so for net income, it's an equal sign. It's our total revenue minus our total expenses. We get 55. Let's pull it across. And then The appropriate way to, I didn't do it over here, when you have your net income, it's the final number. And so on your borders, what you want is the top border and a double bottom. And that basically means, we're doing a calculation and this is the end of the calculations. So that's the end of this video.